Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Fulani, and my guest is Chuks Nwoko, public affairs analyst, publisher, MDG magazine. Good morning, Chuks, and thanks for coming on.
Good morning to you, sir.
Indeed.
Good morning to our viewers.
My pleasure. Chuks, we're looking at, yesterday we closed early. It was like an abridged version of the program because we had to go over to Abuja. The venue in particular was the Air Force Conference Center in Abuja, where there was this National Summit on Conflict Resolution going on, organized by TVC and TVC News and The Nation newspaper. The focus is on burning issues of national and international concern within the ambit of conflict resolution, chaired by the Emir of Kano, Malam Muhammadu Sanusi II. It started yesterday and is concluding today. Now, yesterday, there were, exciting, and informative contributions because those that would have watched it would have understood that this is what it's all about. It's about all stakeholders in resolving our conflicts and essentially herdsmen, farmers, conflicts all over the place, and all the utterances that have come out from it. There are those who are projecting that it is tribal. There are those who are projecting that it is religious. But that seminar was at pains to say it is neither of those things at all. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his contribution, which was delivered by Sunday Diary, in his contribution, he had said a number of things that we need to really look at this squarely and have an interim plan, a short-term plan that will give us time within which to plan for a more lasting solution. But we've got to address this matter. And according to Tinubu, if he had to reduce everything to one word, for him, it would be water, or the lack of it, and the search for water that is causing all of this strife. Malam Nuhu Ribadu was also there, among many other eminent people that spoke. There were animal scientists, there were farmers, there were herdsmen. Ribadu said if he was to reduce it to one, did he say that? No, he didn't say if he was to reduce it to one word, but essentially he said it's about land. You got these nomads, you got the cattle rearers, they do not have land. Their whole livelihood, their whole way of being, their whole culture requires them to be on the move because of their all-precious cattle. So these are the kind of things, according to those two speakers at least, and anybody who watched it would have known that there was a whole mountain more of information out there. But it's a treasure trove, I think, of information regarding the conflicts that we constantly have. Emphasis being on it's not tribal, it's not religious. What is it? I guess maybe you'll agree that it's quite a valuable resource for journalists to have everybody, so to speak, on one table. You got Meati Allah, you got the Air Force responding. Meati Allah, for example, the leader said that the Air Force has been guilty of, when they're bombarding a particular area, collateral damage, innocent lives. The Air Force was there to respond. The police were there to explain things. It's quite an initiative, I think, don't you?
Absolutely. I was just waiting for you to say that for TVC and the Nation. Very impressive action.
And quite a number of people said so yesterday, that this was the unique opportunity that they hadn't seen the like of.
Absolutely. I'm just listening to you for all the things that you're saying. I hope I remember some of the things you said. But I just had one word in my mouth while I was listening to you, and that's to say that for Nation and for TVC, very impressive. But for what you represent as a media organization plus the Nation, you need to go take this further by adding your voice. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here to add my own voice, even though I'm far away from the location in Abuja.
Because it affects all of us.
Absolutely.
And it is continuing, by the way. We shall go there again whenever they give us the signal that we got to go.
But well done. Awesome. Impressive. Thank you. I think that I have had the opportunity of speaking here in the past where I talked about the alarming state of what is going on in Nigeria when it has to do with population, that Nigeria is overpopulated, particularly the city of Lagos is overpopulated. Then you have issue of poverty, which is actually an a fallout of overpopulation. We have so many issues with overpopulation. So whether it's water, like Ashwaju said, or whether it's land, you need leadership to recognize these things that I've said. I've sat down here and I raised an alarm. And I remember when I left here, I went straight to a radio station where I raised the same alarm that we have issue of population and overcrowding. It's actually the word that I used. What we're going through in this country is a fallout of all of those. The resources are diminishing. If you ask the Nigerians who had the opportunity of living here pre-independence and immediately post-independence and all that, they enjoyed Nigeria. Nigeria was sweet as a way. People went to school on scholarship and all that. All of that has given way to the hardship that we face today and all that. Water, if that's the issue, like Ajuwa said, this is not the only country where there's scarcity of water. I have the opportunity of visiting Atlanta, Georgia, sometime in 2013 and all that. And where I mean, they have issue with water.
Yes, yes.
They have issue with water, plus other states.
But sorry, sir, it was also brought out in the ongoing parley that, you know what, Nigeria doesn't have the largest number of herdsmen on the African continent. Ethiopia is said to have more than us, but they're managing their situation.
Absolutely.
They're managing it,
Absolutely.
and that seems to be the problem. It is the search for water, moving out of the arid, the north. When
I was just talking about my experience, what I experienced in just one state, but I know that in so many states in the United States that they have issues with water. Now, what we have here, whatever it is, whether it's land and all that, what we have here is very peculiar. While you were speaking, I was waiting for you to mention how that there will be give and take in what is going on. Because it's a good thing that you have done by organizing the seminar. But there is need for negotiation. There's need for other elements that will lead to peace. And I'll quickly add this. Land, water, whatever scarce resources that we think that we have that is leading to all these conflicts. You didn't mention to me that Nigerian political troublemakers were invited to this seminar, or that you invited them. They are very key factors, and I will describe to you who the Nigerian political troublemakers are. There are those who are not, I've described them here before. There are those who are not able to win elections. Some of them do not qualify. Some of them are shy. Some of them lose elections. I heard Buhari appealing to those who lost elections in the APC to emulate Ambode and all that. These guys, were they invited by you to this seminar? Because they are the ones, no matter who wins election here, no matter who becomes president, they have a habit of just instigating trouble, and nobody pays attention to them.
And why that?
That is number one. Number two, why can't we also recognize that the changes that we are having here, whether it's on land, whether it's related to land or water, like I mentioned to you,
among other things,
why are we refusing to adapt to global changes?
Well, that's where education comes in, and that was also a theme that we actually...
Our refusal as a people to recognize that the changes that are going on in Nigeria is global. Poverty is global.
Well, I think the first thing that the seminar wants to achieve, I'm just imagining now, I wasn't among the planners, is a fuller understanding of the issue. Because it seems the seminar was coming away from, you know, the proverbial elephant and 4 blind men, one grabbing the trunk, one the leg, and so on. So everybody seems to have their own notion on what this is all about. And so there was this attempt to bring all parties, bar none, together. Politicians were there, Senator Shehu Sani was there, among others. It's common, who, by the way, told us that his uncle was kidnapped, and the kind of society we find ourselves in. Thank God he didn't mention the fact that he was the uncle of a senator, because that would have become a problem. You know, that would have become a big problem. He was saying that the man would have been the last guy to leave the place. Such is the nature of the problem. But it was also brought out that there's going to be a need to educate. In fact, I think Ashwaju brought that out, that look, apart from that attempt at nomadic education, he hasn't seen any other meaningful attempt yet to date.
What is the content of that education? That there is a change now in the environment.
Exactly.
that there is a global change.
There has to be an evolution.
There needs to be restructuring, not physical restructuring, but mental restructuring. Come on, there's a global change, both in the weather, water is dried, the land has become scarce and all that. We need to change the way we have done things in the past. This, for me, is what
But you can't do that until you know the actuality, what actually has gone on in the past. Apparently, if you were to take 4 or 5 different people, they tell you a slightly different. Everybody was telling it to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Meati Allah, for instance, you know, the leader, I think it was secretary. Yeah, it was secretary. He said, we are the victim here. He said, the news never reports it. The news doesn't report our losses and so on and so forth.
How do you resolve conflict with that kind of mentality? Where the people, those of us in the southern part of Nigeria, both on Facebook, on whatever, on media, in newspaper, we act like victims and losers. So when you say you want to talk about conflict resolution, in conflict resolution, there are basic ingredients that must be first tabled. Why you must not speak the way they've spoken, that they are victims? Come in there with that nationalistic flavor or patriotic zeal, with patriotic garment, whatever it is that you need to wear to that place, where we are seeing ourselves, the plurality dissolving into singularity, that we are, even though we are many and we have these tribal divisions, that on this matter, that we are one. That is the spirit with which you come to talk about conflict resolution. Or it just be another jamboree.
That is the spirit that I thought was evident among the many intellectuals, many
But if somebody's coming to that place and speaking like a victim, you lost that initiative.
Well, he was saying that this is a part, and that is the Meati Allah guy. He was saying this is a part of the narrative that Nigerians don't get to see. And he was thinking that, well, not so he was thinking, I can't know what he was thinking, but he seemed to be saying that the press and the general public generally, because of what the press is feeding them, are quick to say that, yeah, these are the terrorists.
But it's not right to say that, because you know why? The things that I know about, in fact, I just started hearing about Meati Allah.
Yes.
Did you say yes? Yes. Now, what happened? Buhari became president in 2015. Now, I never used to hear about Meati Allah, but Buhari became president in 2015. And I suddenly started hearing about them. And most of the things that I have heard about them were things that are reported via press release or press conference. But you know that Nigerian media, whatever, has just said that those two styles of getting news items should be minimized. The press should probe him further. That when did you come to national limelight? That is number one. In addressing Nigeria's problem, I will never blame Meati Allah. Why? Because from independence, even though I was not here at the time, I wasn't conscious like this at that time, I can't really blame Meati Allah. Why? Because you have had successive governments in this country where as soon as a certain individual or a certain person become president or become prominent in Nigeria, you have the people who are aligned to them from their ethnic background associating with them. The very one that is very present with me is with the last president of Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan. It was during his era that I saw the kind of prominence of people from his zone. You had Ike Clark Constant in Aso Rock. You had Pastor Orisa Jaffa, who was not so big as a PFM president. Then he became transport minister, and then he started being head. Now it's not, President Jonathan is no longer there. Nobody hears about him. That kind of culture is what we have had since 1960. It's not just about Orisa Jaffa and Ike Clark. But Ike Clark has been around for such a long time. So you need to, those are the questions that must be raised by the media. How did we get to meet President Buhari assuming power in 2015 and you having Meati Allah? Did it just start? It didn't just start. So me and you must probe it as journalists, not just reporting from papers that has been given to us or somebody inviting us to come and cover event.
You know, it's an interesting point you make. And again, Nuhu Ribadu, well, he's APC, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, he is.
He's APC for sure.
For now, for this election cycle, he's APC.
He was quite emphatic on the fact that another thing that he's noticed and that many people notice that because President Buhari is Fulani, and because right now the accused are, Fulani as well, some people are, too quick to make a connection. And they say, and he was saying that it has nothing whatsoever to do with Buhari. Nothing.
In 1962, came to this country.
Buhari can't renounce his tribe.
He stated that Nigeria's problem. He noticed it. How many days visit? I don't know how many days he was here. But he was quick to notice in the meeting that they had in Federal Palace Hotel that Nigeria is polarized around ethnic loyalties. He was right, and that phenomenon is what you have. So if we are going to come and sit on a round table to resolve these conflicts, we must begin to the language must change, and we must be honest to tell ourselves the truth that there are changes that has occurred that we're not in control of. What we're in control of is to adjust to those changes. There's no land anymore because of population explosion. Yeah. So we need, look, if Singapore without land can become what they are today by building those skyscrapers and taking their cows and animals to the 24th floor or to the 42nd floor and all that, why can't we be smarter, especially as we have longer space?
Okay, let me bring Joshua in because I wanted to say something, but I got to... Joshua, you see, I really tried. I'm so sorry. See if you can get back in again. The point was made also there that, look, even the Fulani are mad at Buhari because they believe Buhari is favoring other people, meaning he's listening to other people. He's not listening to us. Our casualties don't get heard. So they have a sore point as well. So it was like Nuhuru Badu was saying that the man is between a rock and a hard place. He's not going to renounce his tribe. He is Fulani, but he has no part in all of this. But then the usual Nigerian thing where you will make one represent the all, that case was made. There are so many viewpoints.
So to resolve
an idea of putting it all on the table, I don't imagine everybody would be telling it to you from their own perspective.
So it means that going forward into this election, the first thing that we must agree on is that we must elect somebody who is nationalistic. If we mention me, you cannot easily say that I'm aligned to my ethnic whatever. We have a certain population, people who are 25 years and slightly above, maybe 30 years old, a huge population. More decide that if you have Metiala blaming Buhari for not listening to them and helping them, then it just shows you the level of problem that we have.
Okay, maybe is it Kelvin or Kevin? I didn't hear that well. Kelvin in Kaduna, good morning. Were you watching the seminar yesterday?
Yes, I was on live. I was watching it live.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes, one of the major problems we're facing in Nigeria, as he said, as the
Chuk Smoko
said, that it is our ethnic loyalty. Yes, the problem we're facing in Nigeria, and it is what is setting us back since 1960, is not accepting the fact that we are now one, despite we being together. So what I suggest for more summits to come up is for everybody to drop their religious and ethnic differences and accept the fact that we are Nigeria first.
Absolutely.
Before any other thing.
All right.
And I think that's where it's going to lead us to a greater nation and a better nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, we are all one. Yeah, I understand that. That's one of the points that was made there. The Fulani herdsmen and the rest of Nigeria, they've been having a relationship over 100 years. When there are issues, because we've talked about landlessness, and they have to drive their all precious cattle. When there are areas of conflict, there used to be methods of resolving such. It was the police officer who spoke, the DIG who spoke on behalf of the police, who said that. But clearly, that must have broken down over the decades. And so we find ourselves in this, where we are now. The police officer explained that, look, we're in the field there. The Fulani way of life is the way it is. Everybody knows that is the way they are. That is the whole cultural heritage. But there are people hiding under that ambit.
Absolutely. I said that before.
There are people hiding under that ambit, committing criminal... So it's the job of the police to sort this out. Don't forget that this whole seminar, it is said that it was to put it all on the table so that all shades, whether you even accept it or not, is not the question now. Let everybody say his bit and put it out on the table so we can begin to see, aha, this is the jigsaw, right? We see everybody here. Now, how can we accommodate everybody? Because we must. We don't have a choice.
Absolutely.
If we're one.
Absolutely.
We've got to resolve this. So it was in that context that Tinubu was saying that he would favor a short-term measure, but only for the purpose of giving us the space to sit down and do some serious brain work on an ultimate solution.
You need a nationalist to be able to achieve that, both in thinking and in outlook, at two realms right now. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You need a nationalist who has this type of understanding that Tinubu just expressed, who can come and say, you know what, but there's something that is missing. The compromise that all of us must bring to the table, because you can't be discussing anything. You can't be discussing anything with anybody at any level, whether it's conflict resolution or whatever it is, without putting compromise on the table.
Okay.
How do you resolve any conflict without agreeing ab initio about compromise?
Okay.
No nation can survive outside of compromise. No nation on earth has survived and will survive outside of compromise.
Okay.
So you need a nationalistic person who has that idea, whether it's Ashwaju or the Badu and all that, bringing your perspective to the table. But that perspective outside of compromise can never, right? I told you.
Okay. What we're going to do now, we're going to take a break because let me, well, the producer is saying we're not taking a break. The dilemma I have now is that they're just about to start what we're talking about, day 2.
So we can go live. No?
Day 2 of what we're talking about. So indeed, let me just say that. Over now to the Air Force Conference Center in Abuja.
Though within the family of the TV Continental and the Nation newspaper, we who are gathered here are both participants, both those at the high table. We want to thank wonderfully TV Continental, TVC, and the Nation for bringing us together to discuss. As I said yesterday, these media organizations have been able to evolve beyond the context of the watchdog principle of journalism to the guard dog principle, where they see themselves not just as outsiders, but as participants in the Nigerian project. And they've decided to bring all of us together today to discuss and find ways at ending the conflict between farmers, herders, and the conflicts in other parts of the country. Can we put our hands together for TVC and the Nation newspaper? Can we please clap for TVC and the Nation, please? Thank you very much. And if you don't know, as I said yesterday, the guys and the persons that run these media organizations, they don't sleep. They work throughout the night. Some are working here, some are in the office, some are behind the console, some are behind the cameras, some are in the engineering session, some are in the advert session, some are in the program department. They just work across all through the night. And when you watch TVC 247, at the time you are sleeping and waking up, many guys do not sleep. And for the Nation, you read yesterday morning, and the ones you will read again.
Okay, then, so something of a preview. That's going to go on for as long as it takes, 4 or 5 hours, whatever. You're going to be hearing scholarly contributions, but not just scholarly. All stakeholders. This is what it was yesterday, but they're going to be, according to Dele Alake, who was a 2-time commissioner in Lagos, who spoke there. He said a different set of people would be brought in today, so that we just want to get as wide a perspective of this as possible. You were saying, I think, something along the lines of, look, when all people from discordant, angles are coming together, were you saying that they need to come with certain compromises also?
Absolutely. If you
but since no judgment can be made at this event, that's not the kind of event it was.
No.
In fact, the point is made that this is not about judging anybody. It's about hearing from everybody.
Yeah.
So,
but you're supposed to have somebody who is supposed to be saying to everybody. It could have been Ashwaju, it could have been anybody else. It could be you.
It could be the chairman.
It could be the chairman.
Who
understands the dimensions of nationhood. how other nations have gone through this route, how nations evolve, how nations, the nations that have come to an end and have ceased to exist, how they died and all of that, and how if we want to enjoy our plurality, embedding it inside singularity, because we are one.
Indeed, and that's why all of this is going on.
That can only be achieved when you have a nationalist who understands these dimensions and be saying, you know what, I have heard. What are you ready to give up? What are you ready to give up? You were saying that that's how the Métis Allies and the Fulanis, there's change now. Well, there are Fulanis all over the world.
Again, yes,
in Texas, for instance,
I hear you.
It's a state of famine and herds rearing and all that. There's massive food production. And by the way, there's suya and meat and all of that going on in the different cities, whether it's Dallas or in Houston. So it's not only here. We need to change our mindset. The world has moved on. We're 1,000 years behind. And by the way, that's the title of my book. We're 1,000 years behind because of this type of thinking where people see the changes that are going on around them. And you are saying that's the way you have been 1,000 years ago. There's need for compromise. You need to give up some things to accommodate other people.
In the year 2018, here we are now. I think Ashwaju mentioned it in his, presentation, your contribution that, look, it needs to be said that way is not the most efficient in a modern world. But it's only education that's going to let there be an evolution into a more efficient, shall we say, way of doing it. But the cultural way of the Fulani, their way of life, their whole world view can also not be thrown out.
No, you can't do that.
Because they've been coming along with it for centuries.
You can't.
And there is the dilemma.
It can't be.
I beg your pardon. Mukhtar in Kano. Good morning, Mukhtar.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Good, very well, thank you.
Let me contribute in this conflict resolution.
Sure.
You see, to me, the topic, you need to revisit the topic and say conflict and crisis revolution, because there are crises. For example, in Plateau, in Taraba and Benue, there are crises. In other places, there are kidnapping. In other places, there are Fulani, herdsmen, and the rest of the people. So it is all over the nation. Some is crisis, some is conflict. So there are two different issues which must be matched. And to me, all the stakeholders must be there. And it's not a kind of summit that will take tea and go.
Okay, Mukhtar, did you watch yesterday's event? Mukhtar, did you watch yesterday's coverage?
I'm hearing you, yes.
Did you see yesterday's coverage of the...
I have seen part of it.
You saw part of it? Because when you're saying all the stakeholders, you could see that there were quite a lot of stakeholders there. The military was there, the police was there, farmers were there, wherever, and then a whole new set of guests. Mayor Tiala was there, everybody was there. So I appreciate what you're saying. Clearly the organizers must have appreciated it as well.
But Mark Riori, is the economic team of the Mr. President there? Because this thing has something to do with poverty. It has an ingredient of poverty in it.
Okay.
People are really in abject poverty, and that will even add to this kind of conflict and crisis.
But that's the cost now.
And the rest of it. Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
To be included.
Thank you, Mukhtar. Thank you for that. The point was also made about, look, it's like Nigerians moving into Europe. They're running away from hardship and looking for relative ease and protection.
I don't think
the point was made that, look, when people are coming down to the south, you shouldn't see it all as...
You see, that thing you said is wrong. When people are moving to Europe, they are moving from opportunities to a place where there's scarcity. This is the place where there's fertile land. This is a place where you have vegetation along or Benin or Kenne Road. What are you talking about? What is going on in Europe? What do they have in the place? They have a developed society where they dwell and where they earn their income from taxation. What is going on in the place?
Okay, I can see that. You know what?
And they have built up the place in such a way that they have just safety nets and all that. People are targeting and all that and all that.
Wait, let me uncouple us a bit. When I say uncouple, what I mean is that we're going to break away to, Abuja, the Air Force Conference Center in Abuja, where the conference, as you saw, is ongoing. And but we'll continue in studio. And so, people can pick up the repeat broadcast of the program and see the next 30 minutes. Whereas you can cut away to the event that we're talking about now and see the new contributors that will be coming in today. Very exciting. It's a veritable resource.
Novel idea.
It's a very veritable resource. So we'll go to a break now. When we come back, you'll be in Abuja, but we will continue in studio. Now, when you see the repeat of the program later on, it'll be the entire program with what you might have missed. Okay, so we're back, and from now on, it's like the only people who will hear this is if you catch the repeat, because now, the rest of our viewers are fully over there. But just before maybe what we could do is also bring to bear some of the highlights of yesterday. Let's look at Dele Alake yesterday, kicking off the event.
Amongst the Committee of Nations, and we have been striving all along. We've had our own fair share of challenges, but every time we seem to have been pushed to the precipice, we have managed to pull back, to introspect and reflect. And by the grace of God, we've always managed to avoid total disaster, to avoid disintegration, and we trudge on to live in harmony and peace. And on, we have been able to contend with centrifugal forces in our society, and we have managed thus far. Why can we not manage further far?
It has always been talk, and talk, with no solution in sight. The political elites, the political establishment in this country, must decide for themselves which kind of country do they want to preside over. Most of those that are killed are poor people living in remote locations, and on very few occasions do you see those in the position of leadership or those in the position of power have been touched by this crisis. We spend so much time in politics. If a fraction of the kind of energy and resource we dissipate on politics, we will do it for peace and stability in this country, we could have gone very far. This thinking that any Fulani man you see represent a violent herdsman should change from our psyche.
People who are landless must continue to be a problem. And one of the things that we are facing today is basically this problem of people who are also attempting to say that we are part of this Nigeria. We belong to this. We want an address. We want a place where we will call our own. We also want to have a place where our animals are going to be taken care of. And there is a resistance. There is a saying no, and that we are not going to agree. It has nothing to do with tribe or religion.
Okay, so Malam Nuhuru Ibadu there, I had paraphrased him earlier, and I think he also went on to talk about the point that you are disagreeing with. But look, it's not much different from Nigerians moving out of here, going into better places because they feel protected in the UK, in wherever, the US, Europe generally. Moving, if their country was as should be, most of them wouldn't be out there because they're doing, it's not the best place to be. They're not there out of choice. They're doing work that they funnily would not do locally, but they're doing all of that there. Somebody, I think it was Malam Nuhurubad, who said that the Northerners moving towards the South, it's not dissimilar. Where things are better. And these are, so we're all in one boat, we're all Nigerians, people are moving, and that is a part of it that hadn't ever occurred to me before.
I do not agree.
But you don't agree.
I do not agree, because you see, when we are moving to those places that we're moving in, it's because people built those places up. So if you have problem with where you are and all that, how does the Chinese deal with it? They have desert in China.
Of course. In fact,
and they have wind that is blowing up the soil in China. What do? They develop a local technology that allows them to hold the sand with straws.
Which is being exported around the world now.
Absolutely. So if you say...
that leading Chinese technology to stop desertification...
Absolutely. They have technology of stopping desertification. Here, you are giving credence to why people are moving. Why can't you deal with your challenges and all that? We have the lecture.
Instead of running away from it. Let me quickly grab, is it Gandhi? Did I get that? Is it Candy, good morning, and thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, ma'am.
I am worried. This is your conflict resolution. My people in Numan, in Adamawa State, are being killed every week. Villages are being burnt. But nobody invited us. And it surprises me that whenever you people are talking, complaining about this, herdsmen, farmers, something, nobody mentions my people. Are we not Nigerians? Or Nigerians don't see what happens to us? Why are we not invited? Why don't people hear our own cry? Our people are being... Even last week, 4 villages were burnt. They were burnt 2 weeks back. They were burnt again last week. What is happening in this country? Why are Fulani killing us and nobody is saying anything?
Did you catch yesterday's coverage by any chance?
In fact, I was trying to, and the light went off. That is the country we were living in.
Yes, but today is another day because it is ongoing right now.
I'm watching, but among the names mentioned, there was nothing like Adamawa. Adamawa is not talking today. I did not see it. I'm watching it right away.
Adamawa was brought up yesterday for sure, but as you said, what you've just said was also reflected yesterday, that there are ongoing crises all over the country.
Apart from conflict, that there are crises. Somebody called in.
Yes, and said apart from the conflicts, there are crises.
Yes, I heard it very well. In fact, crisis, not crisis. One section of this country are just killing people. Especially Christians. We are Christians. We are predominantly Christian in Mataman land. But we are being killed every day by Fulani. They come from, what's the name of this village where Brate Ilo is? They come from that place and destroy my people. Why?
Well, Madam Kandi, the effort was made yesterday to say that we should try to avoid what can be referred to as stereotyping. Now, I'm not saying what you are saying is stereotypical, but all of those kind of things that bring all the parties together. People, I told you, Mayati Allah said that they were the victims, for example, that their casualties get underreported. You are just adding valuable information.
Let me ask you this. I have never heard, I've been watching, in fact, I don't know, do I say I'm fanatical to TVC? I've been watching, I've never heard for a day where they say that Fulani herdsmen that killed have been arrested. We have it here. My people, in fact, my 90-something-year-old aunt, I had to bring her, she spent the night in water because Fulani people were killing in their villages. So they had to run and take refuge inside water. She was in water for over 10 hours. I had to send somebody to go and bring her out. She's lying down sick. What country is this? Who has arrested one Fulani man that is killing in this country? Where are we heading to?
Thank you very much, Kandi, for highlighting this aspect of the problem. Again, Mayati Allah was talking about underreporting. Kandi has just said that totally no mention at all. She said she's as avid a viewer as any of TVC, and you people have never brought up Adamawa. So these are the kind of issues.
Absolutely. Now, I was in your sister program to discuss the China-Nigerian relationship, and I drew the attention of Nigerians who watched our program to the need to investigate and probe the activities of China in Sudan.
Okay.
And how these things are going. I'm not. I just said I've just drawn your attention to it because of what Candy is saying. There's need to investigate the activities of China in Sudan. How that problem and that activities in Sudan has led to the conflict in South Sudan. Since the independence of South Sudan, that small country, the newest country in African continent, has not known peace. It should be investigated whether it has effect coming into Nigeria through Nigeria and all that. It's very important.
Let me bring Mazi Okoroafo in. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, Sayori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, our guest.
Did you watch the coverage of yesterday?
Good morning, Mazi.
Well, I was watching them and they took line. That was it.
Just like Candy's case. But it's ongoing right now.
Now, you see, Sayori, you see, in 2001, I was doing a lecture in Jos, then in a class. I told the students, I said, look, the best option for anybody, for you students, young users, don't allow any crisis and don't participate. Because any crisis that you see, the solutions to come will be very, very hard. And that is why, at the end of the day, I told them, be careful and be watchful. That if you allow those things to escalate, it will not have a stop. That is why it's so simple that we have to avoid anything that will bring misunderstanding, that will rise to the issue of conflict, or to come and lead to the rate of crisis of killing people, or having misunderstanding. Now, take an example. The program came yesterday, agreed. Now, you saw what happened. This one, those people need to go far. Here in Nigeria, during the Civil War and after the Civil War, and what do we see? Do you know that in within the Down East, there are areas that no-go area, as I'm talking to you now, after the Civil problem, because as I said, and I see we should avoid anything that will bring conflict, because there is no solution. Now, our guest was just talking about Sudan. Now, you see what is happening now in Sudan. This morning or yesterday, I was watching at Jazeera. They were showing this of them that were in prison. That's
Mazi, we lost you there, but thank you very much for your contribution. Again, going back to Candy's contribution, in spite of the effort of the organizers to bring, without fear or favor, without prejudice, all stakeholders together, she was asking, were we invited? I hope that question can be answered in the affirmative today, because yesterday was just the first half.
Nuhu Ribadu, is he not from Adamawa? Maybe that's not what she meant. Maybe she was...
Well, he is actually from Adamawa, but you know how she was talking about, she referred to her own people.
Okay,
but
talking about Candy and the complaint that she made.
Yes.
I have the privilege for how many years of always being invited here. When I started having my own problem in my family and my community, and I think at the point you got irritated because I was losing my family members. We were losing houses. Houses were being burned. In fact, there's a woman of almost 90 years old that was burnt with her grandchildren and all that. And that problem is ongoing. Yori, what is the cause of the problem? You have one young man who came, because he's a politician, he comes, takes 33 hectares of land. Few years he comes back, he says that he wants to collect another 95 hectares. And this is a place that is a communal community. We are all farmers. One person, he has already 33, he's taking another one, and the community says no. The place is in crisis. So that is the kind of situation that I try to paint for you in the past, and that I try to mention today, that is these politicians who are misguided, who can't win an election, who has had the fortune of occupying one position.
Sheikh Fulani said it.
Yes,
remember?
But I have been saying it.
You've been saying it
yesterday.
So it's
I have
good.
been saying
you have been saying it.
And it's on YouTube because you have them recorded. That I have been saying this thing that is politicians. Now, this politician we are talking about answered the same surname with me. He had the fortune of going to the House of Representatives because he was forced on the people by Ibori. I mean, I don't quarrel with that because he helped him, thinking that he was a responsible guy. He comes home, collects 33 hectares of land. He comes back home a few years later without giving an account of what he was giving, and based on the promises that he made that he's going to build this, he's going to build. He didn't build anything. He's raising army there and all that and all that. So when Candy makes that kind of comment, I can empathize and I can relate with her troubles over the years. But I come here and I mention, you have not given me a cameraman once and say, okay, Chooks, this thing you're saying, let's go and investigate and bring you a report. because it's palpable, it's something you can cover.
In fact, that's
but that is what is going on all over the place, the scramble for land by politicians who have nothing to contribute to us.
You know, all these ills, if you want to call it that, that's what the organizers of the conference must have had in mind, that we need to clear this up if we are going to be sincere in tackling this problem. Absolutely. Or if we just want to leave it to be just
I commended you. I say it was an impressive and awesome idea.
And it was just 50% that you saw
yesterday.
Might
not be what, it might not be meet the expectations of everybody.
Of everybody.
But this is a good thing, and it needs to be sustained. Maybe you need to take it to Abuja and take it to Asaba.
Kandi just coming in now has added a different perspective.
Absolutely.
No matter how well they thought they had done.
And the guy who called from Kano also added a perspective
so
to it.
It goes to show you that it's an onerous task to bring all the stakeholders together, and sometimes the messages might not be comfortable, because you see straight off that some people are saying that it's like they already know what the problem is, and don't let too much grammar cover it up. There are people that feel like that. But the organizers think that, look, without prejudice to that, can we hear all the sides, all the stakeholders, so we'll have a better sense? I think Ashwaju must have had the impression that we don't really have a full perspective on this whole issue. Going back to that proverb of the blind man and the elephant, everybody is an expert on what he is grabbing hold of.
Absolutely. But you see, the beauty about life is you have one problem like this in your hands, and you bring 10 people around the table to look at this singular problem. And everybody is bringing their perspective. And the beauty about those perspectives is that that's the way they see the solution or the resolution of those problems. If you can have one person harness all of it, whether it's land, whether it's water, water is crucial to man's existence. Those animals need water as they travel from the north to the whatever. The land issue is vital.
So these are the imperatives.
Absolutely. So on top of it, what do you need is leadership. So the peculiar thing in Nigeria leadership is that, let us assume that tomorrow God gives us a sound leadership. You have these distractions.
Take Kandi, for instance. Kandi was saying unequivocally, the Fulani are killing us. Now, that is an idea that people sought to address. You heard, I think it was Shehu Sani, many other contributions, but Shehu Sani said this whole notion
that is Fulani,
that the Fulani is just this mad killer. Somebody even brought up there, is it true that they don't forgive, you can offend now, they come fight? Bring all these things out onto the table. Put them on there, so that we can address these issues and at least know that these are the, I don't know, should I call it, these are the fears, these are the notions that people have. Yes, and we can always interrogate that.
And because I don't have any evidence to substantiate that kind of notion, what I have said to you in a nutshell is that since the inception of this country, ethnic loyalties to leadership
is a problem.
It's a problem.
It is a problem.
And that much I have said. So those who have those notions, maybe frankly, they are right.
You know, truth be told, you can't take it out of the Nigerian. Truth be told, let us just be sincere here. It's not the prescribed thing to say.
You might not take it out of the Nigerian, but you can change the narrative. If in this election you hear what I'm saying, you say, okay, if that is the case, let me find a nationalist that I can vote for.
Okay.
A man who cannot, his centric whatever, cannot come and lay claim on that his ethnic nationalities that voted him in or brought him to power. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is possible because now we have how many people contesting the election this year? You can pigeonhole one of them. I said, this guy, I don't even know where he's from. He's a nationalist because he's based in Lagos, and every time he's speaking, you will never hear him or people laying claim to him. That is where the revolution can come. If we are not able to do it in this election, then that's where you are right. We're just going to have to continue.
You know, oftentimes one hears when we're having these political conversations that I don't really care where he comes from if he can perform, because he won't perform for himself or his people alone. He'll perform for all of us.
Absolutely.
Lovely egalitarian idea.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to actual reality, do we go like that, even though it is where we need to be?
No, we go like that. We normally go like that. What has happened to us here is that going to the polling station to go and whatever has never brought any man to power. You heard the former senator from Plateau State who confessed that the trend has always been that while we are voting, the Nigerian elites have always gathered to decide who will be president. And he confessed that they would buy even agents of people who are contesting the election to go with them, and they bribe and settle everybody. So that has been the culture. And I believe that this coming election in February 1999 is going to present us with a new opportunity for a generation that is 25 years, 30 years old to decide that, look, we need to disconnect ourselves with these old people who have held this nation down. Because this group of people have never really enjoyed a sweet country. I enjoyed a little bit of it because I met Awolowo here.
Do you think the concept of restructuring, that whole restructuring conversation, does it have any part in this?
Are you going to do any of this? Are you going to do any of this without restructuring?
About moving into the election, and you know Atiku, who is clearly now...
It's the restructuring that we're doing here now.
Atiku, the candidate of PDP, you know, his sing-song has been restructuring.
He doesn't understand what restructuring means. His own idea of restructuring, he's gone to Port Harcourt, they've done their restructuring and all that. We are talking, what you and I were doing here, seriously, is restructuring. The Métis Allah people and the herdsmen and all that, this is what they need. Once you can tweak their thinking, change their mindset, reward them, like my pastor will say. He said to us, we need to reward Nigerians to be able to reward them. I need to change the way you think. Once you're able to do that, if I'm able to persuade you this morning...
But that's about one's consciousness, isn't it? That's about one's orientation. And we said the orientation of the average Fulani. In fact, they were even talking yesterday, since they were experts and they were Fulanis themselves, some of them who spoke, were talking about the town Fulani.
Yes.
Totally different animal from the real herdsman Fulani.
President Buhari, whom I respect so much, I have always liked him since the days of his military, whatever. I still like him. He needs to speak to his people. Having listened to what I said, that Nigeria's problem has been predicated partially on ethnic ties to leadership. Once you bring one Urobo man, Urobo people will start shouting.
That statement
if you bring Anambra man here, Anambra people...
I don't know the context in which you made that statement, because what I mean by this is that it seems to give the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, that somehow Buhari is either casting a benign eye on goings-on, or is looking away because they are his people.
No, he's completely overwhelmed.
You think?
Because of what I said to you the other day. I said something to you the other day. He said I should stop saying it. Leadership disability. And even himself, he confessed that because of age. I mean, the man is 70-something years old. I like to be that old and all that. But there are certain things he cannot do now. And knowing also that he's not a loquacious person, he's a gentleman and all that and all that. If I were in his shoes, I probably would have run into trouble with my mouth and all that. But he's very calm, very calculative, very whatever. So that he brings that advantage to the table. But there's also a disadvantage. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's also a disadvantage. There's two sides to a coin.
No,
so
I mean,
that leadership.
What you've just said, you don't expect him to then run around raising hell.
No, look, he's fighting corruption. That in itself is good, but he also has a disadvantage. He spends so much time doing that. So every other thing has been, and like I said, I can't hold him 100% liable. In fact, I can't even hold him liable because I'm upset with the population of Nigeria who just don't understand there is need for leadership. If you vote my candidate into office, you got to give him time to perform. There's so much distraction.
Mazi Okorafa.
There's so much distraction.
Mazi Okorafa.
For anybody leader to think.
I think in his contribution, he was sort of warning that we need to do everything possible to avoid crises or crises.
Absolutely.
You know, because
he doesn't help you.
You know where it starts. You never know where it's going to end. You know, that kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
And so this is why
I come from a royal family. The place is,
now I understand the beads this morning.
Well, I am celebrating something. I come from a royal family.
Okay.
The place is, I am speaking to someone that say we need to start work to rebuild. It's difficult to rebuild. This guy called, this politician I'm telling you, whose name is not even worthy to be mentioned, he just started this problem and he polarized the family and we don't even know where it's going to end. So I think that for Nigeria to go forward, we need to agree that there's conflict. We need to agree that there's need to resolve it, but we must bring something to the table, and that is compromise.
And Mukhtar, calling in from, was it Kano, said that apart from conflict resolution, is a conflict and crisis resolution.
We must give up something.
So, you know what? maybe we're going to stop this so we can actually nip out and go follow what's going on in Abuja itself, where right now the 2018 National Summit on Conflict Resolution is going on at the Air Force Conference Center in Abuja, and all sorts of experts are coming in. It's a veritable resource for journalists and for anybody who's interested in current affairs to hear all under one roof. Thank you very, very much.
My pleasure, anytime.
Indeed, our pleasure. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Fulani. Bye-bye for now.